हाँ जी। अभी नहीं। उनको को होस्ट बना दे। गुड आफ्टरनून सर।
गुड आफ्टरनून मैम।
आफ्टरनून सर।
हाँ गुड आफ्टरनून। मेरी आवाज आ रही है आप लोगों को?
हाँ जी सर, आ रही है सर।
अच्छा, पहले मैं ये कहाँ से शेयर करते हैं? एक मिनट
सर नीचे ऑप्शन आ रहा होगा सर, लोअर साइड ऑफ द विंडो।
एक मिनट, ये एक तो पहले बिग कर लूं जूम मीटिंग का, उसके बाद शेयर स्क्रीन है ना?
हाँ जी सर।
शेयर स्क्रीन में एक मिनट, ये पीपीटी जो है अभी एक मिनट में शेयर करता हूँ।
यस सर,
ये
विजिबल है सर।
शेयर हो गई ना?
हाँ जी सर।
ठीक है, तो
स्टार्ट कर दें सर?
एक मिनट रुको, मैं तो पहले आ गया ना थोड़ा सा। हाँ, अब हम लोग कर सकते हैं, ठीक है। बस ये है कि नेट बीच में इनकेस डिस्कनेक्ट हो जाता है ना, तो एक मिनट, ये क्या हो गया मेरे उसमें? योर स्क्रीन इज शेयरिंग। बैकग्राउंड कहाँ चला गया मेरा? जो बैकग्राउंड है, एक मिनट, ये शेड्यूल हो गया, ये स्क्रीन हो गई, ठीक है। अच्छा, वो कहाँ गया जूम का ऑप्शन जिसमें मैं कुछ कर सकता हूँ? ये तो कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा है
सर। नीचे जूम मीटिंग्स वाला एक वो दिख रहा होगा।
हाँ,
ये तो
अच्छा,
सर
ये आ
अगर
गया।
नहीं दिख रहा तो सर एक बार एस्केप करो सर आप।
नहीं, ऊपर चला गया असल में वो।
अच्छा,
ये लिखा है योर स्क्रीन शेयरिंग इज पॉज्ड, है ना? स्टॉप, ये ऊपर ही चला गया। अच्छा, इसमें मुझे एक न्यू शेयर तो मेरा हो रखा है ना?
हाँ जी सर।
एक मिनट, हाँ, एक मिनट, रिज्यूम शेयर करूंगा तो फिर आ जाएगा, है ना?
हाँ जी।
और ये जो एंटर कर रहे हैं, ये मुझे एडमिट करने हैं क्या?
नो सर, वी आर एडमिटिंग।
अच्छा, ये क्योंकि मेरे उसमें शो हो रहे हैं बेसिकली ना।
हाँ जी।
ठीक है, तो एक मिनट, पॉज शेयर हो सकता है, मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ? मैं कुछ नहीं कर सकता, है ना? ठीक है, ओके। तो मुझे पता चल गया, मेरी स्क्रीन तो फुल आ रही है ना, मतलब जो दिख रहा है ना सारे कंपोनेंट।
हाँ जी। अभी सर स्लाइड शो में नहीं हुआ, स्लाइड्स दिख
नहीं,
रही हैं।
स्लाइड शो करूंगा ना फिर मैं,
हाँ जी।
इसमें प्रॉब्लम हो रही है स्लाइड शो में। अगर मैं डिस्कनेक्ट होता हूँ ना,
हाँ जी।
पता नहीं चलेगा। आप लोग मुझे व्हाट्सएप या कर देंगे तुरंत अगर मैं डिस्कनेक्ट, बिकॉज नेटवर्क कनेक्टिविटी की प्रॉब्लम हो रही है यहाँ पे, है ना?
ठीक है सर, हम कर देंगे सर।
हाँ, है ना? तुरंत व्हाट्सएप कर देना। अभी तो कनेक्टेड है, दिख रहा है मेरा स्क्रीन आपको?
हाँ जी, दिख रही है सर अभी।
इंटरनेट कनेक्टेड है, लेकिन वो कभी कभी हो रहा है, तो फिर मैं चेंज करूंगा। ओके, सो यू कैन स्टार्ट इट।
यस सर।
Good afternoon, all the participants. So I welcome you all on the afternoon session of day 3. So guest of the day is Dr. Dheeraj Joshi. Dr. Dheeraj Joshi is working as a professor is professor in NIT Kurukshetra from the year 2001, and now he is working as a professor in Delhi Technical University from the year 2012. His areas of expertise is power electronics, mineral conversion system. Sir has published more than 100 papers and has more than 500 citations in his name. Sir has worked on various research projects and has been guiding many researchers in the past. So I welcome you, sir. And today sir will be presenting the topic of artificial intelligence and its application in electrical engineering. So I welcome you, sir. And I thank you for giving us a time. So kindly, sir, please take over the session.
Okay, thank you very much, organizers, and I hope my screen is visible. First thing I want to correct that I become professor in DTU in year 2015, and earlier I worked in NIT Kurukshetra as assistant professor. So from so many years, and then I joined DTU as associate professor, and then become professor in 2015. So that is, and rest part is okay, but citation and the other part will be seen in the Google. So the data, if you took it from the Google, that data will be changed. Sometimes the same name Dheeraj Joshi, other person will publish the paper. So that data is not 500. I think it is less than that. So that will be the correction in the presentation first. Now, am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
And I am not able to remove this, the upper part of the screen. Okay, I will put escape. When I put escape, that will not, I think that part that is you are screen sharing, it is not gone. So okay, anyway, so my topic is visible to all of you, artificial intelligence and its application in electrical engineering.
Yes, sir, it's visible, sir.
First thing is, I want to tell you that it's a very vast topic and we cannot cover it in this particular time. And after 20 minutes, you all know, in our brain, our neurons were exhausted. So our neural network is going into saturation region. So after 20 minutes or some 25 minutes, based on your activation functions and your saturation in your neurons, it is difficult to listen the continuously so many topics by so many researchers. So I will try to ask the questions in between, or will try to take some example. First thing. Second thing is, because it's a vast topic, I cannot cover it in this time. So I took some examples. And hello. Somebody want to ask? Hello.
Yes, sir.
कुछ पूछना था क्या? बीच में से कुछ आवाज आई तो
वो सर कई बार पार्टिसिपेंट्स अनम्यूट हो जाते हैं सर, उसकी वजह से आया होगा।
अच्छा ठीक है,
हाँ जी, हाँ।
सेटिंग्स कर सकते हो। इफ somebody want to ask वो पूछ भी सकते हो, but generally if we present something then you can ask. Okay, now you know that because the topic is vast and its application is also there in various engineering fields. So I took some examples of electrical engineering. So before that, based on the topic artificial intelligence application electrical engineering, so these three keywords are there. So you already know that artificial intelligence is basically a science, and nowadays it is hot topic that how to utilize it for our different applications. And computing, soft computing technique or computational techniques or intelligent computational techniques are part of artificial intelligence. So I am covering that part only because artificial intelligence itself a very vast topic. Electrical engineering is also a vast area. So I will try to place in this particular time, some aspect of it, not all the things. So now, and excuse me for that particular thing, but I will try to accommodate some things related to electrical engineering. So I will try to take the very small part of it, that is the soft computing techniques. So now you know that these soft computing techniques are basically utilized by most of the researchers in their PhD, in their MTech, or in their BTech projects also. So that's why this topic is very interesting topic for all of the persons like doing BTech, MTech, or PhD, or taking the classes also for teaching purpose also. In the research itself, we can utilize this particular area. So that's why I choose this area for the presentation. So the contents of my presentation are this one: the artificial intelligence development, hard computing versus soft computing applications, main area. And after some application, the other application related to grid or renewable energy systems are also I will try to cover. So artificial intelligence, first we know the definition. Okay, it's also a science like the other areas, and basically we try to utilize our intelligence into the machines, and that's why we are saying artificial intelligence. And it's a fascinating area, although not so simple, but it's a fascinating area and various aspects are there. In movies also, we saw that in Terminator movie and so many movies, we saw the application of artificial intelligence. So now as an engineer, we must know the history of this, how is the development of artificial intelligence going on nowadays and in earlier days. So you can see it started from the relays in 1937, and then year by year wise, you can see it is 1939, not 19439. So year by year wise, the algorithms or the methods were developed. So you can easily see that here this McClary model was developed for this neural network in earlier days, and then you can see that 1939. So this Pitts model was developed for neural network. Then the work were going on like that, simply in that manner, how to move this particular 1939 to 50, 52, 56, 57, like that. So you can see the developments are there. And at the end, in 2005, a humanoid robot was there. Now you can see some other robot was there, and I saw that she want become a mother. I saw in Times of India that artificial intelligence based robot is there, and it means we can provide the emotions to those things, those machines also. We will try to utilize those, our emotions and the other things. But because we are engineers, so, and in this particular topic, I am electrical engineer, so I will try to take not those example of emotions or psychology related to psychology, but related to the core area like power electronics or like machines. I will try to take that. So you can see in that manner, the developments are there. And for intelligent systems, you can see that for this soft computing, specifically for soft computing purpose, you can see that from 1939 to 1943, the McClure and Pitts are working on that. They developed the neuron, artificial neuron. And after that, you can see that Jade developed fuzzy logic in 1964. And in that manner, the genetic algorithm is also developed around in 1970 or 71 by Holland. And then after this, you can see the various developments are there. And in recent years, so many optimization technique or the soft computing techniques comes into picture, which are related to our artificial intelligence. So basically, it's a part, this soft computing techniques are part of artificial intelligence. So when I say my topic is artificial intelligence and its application, so means soft computing technique and its application. When I say, I mimic that thing, but the point is we represent this artificial intelligence, but mathematical foundation, that is a soft computing technique. So now if I say soft computing technique, definitely there is some term that is hard computing technique. So what is the difference between hard computing and soft computing? You can say that in conventional technique, on a set logic, we are getting the exact or accurate result, right? Means based on certain formulas. While in soft computing techniques, we are not getting the exact results or accurate results. We are very near to it, but the logic will be depending on different aspects, different methods. So not unlike the conventional, like say differentiation is there in gradient based methods. So in genetic algorithm based method, no gradient based calculation is there. So in that manner, the conventional techniques where the conventional formulas or say Taylor series expansions are used in your methods, we in soft computing techniques, we utilize the nature-inspired algorithms. Okay. Now you can see in a tabular form, I represent the information in that manner. One thing I want to tell you that I also took this data from various resources. For example, this data I took from some book. Okay. See the other data from the other book. So you can also, at the end of this lecture or the course, I will provide you the PPT also. So you can also collect this data, and different data are available on the internet. But here systematically, I want to show you the things so you can see that the difference between hard and soft computing. In hard computing, more computational time is required because certain steps are there. For example, if we are using the patterns, Hooke's-Geus pattern search method. So that Hooke's-Geus pattern search method, you have to find the patterns and you have to move that particular pattern. So it will move from one point to the other point, and we will get a certain accuracy, right? Based on our region of interest also, right? So we can find the precision also. But in case of the soft computing, for example, genetic algorithm, I say approximation is observed in the computation. Or if I use the fuzzy logic, again, approximation is there. So that's why based on that precision, we can say hard computing methods, if hybridized with the soft computing methods, will give better results. Means first, use the soft computing techniques where we will get the results very near to the exact results, and then we apply the conventional technique that is based on hard computing. So we will get better results. We will get the precise answer by that. So nowadays, we cannot say only one technique will give one better results. So for one system, it will give better results. For other system, it may be possible the other technique will give other results. But for as a researcher or as a teacher, we can say, because we are working in one area, we say this technique is best. For example, if I am working on genetic algorithm, I will say genetic algorithm is best as compared to the particle swarm optimization method. Some person is working on particle swarm optimization, he will say or she will say PSO is best. So we have to compare the two techniques. Again, it's a biasing. So if we want to show one technique better than the other technique, so we say this technique is better. After some time, some other researcher will say this technique is better. So but modifications are going on in these techniques also. So I can say soft computing is also called computational intelligence, and it's a computational part of artificial intelligence. So my topic was specifically soft computing technique in electrical engineering. Okay, soft computing technique and its application in electrical engineering. But broadly, it is called artificial intelligence and its application. Okay, in electrical engineering. Now you can see that soft computing technique is basically represented by the intelligent agents. And what are those agents? We can easily see by the by this particular PPT that it will may be chromosome also. Here it is written as worm, dogs, thermostat, like that, sensors. But maybe your anything depending on the method, you say chromosomes or birds or ants or anything. So what they did basically act intelligently in that manner. You can see flexibility is the very key part here, and based on the experience, it learns, like in neural network. Based on the providing the training data, the weights of the neural networks are changed or optimized, and we will get the better results. So we can say different agents may be there. Now, if I represent this definition is definitely written in that manner: any biologically, naturally, and linguistically motivated. So linguistically term, you know that you use in fuzzy logic. So linguistically motivated computational paradigm include, but not limited to, neural network, fuzzy system, evolutionary computed, and so many hybrid intelligence system. So this is the definition of soft computing basically. So agents in the world will be represented like this. You can see, and how these agents are working intelligently, it depends on the method applicable to the particular system. So you can see that prior knowledge is required, past experience is required, then what is the goal of the system, and in between if some observer is there, so observations are also required. And then we have an environment, we have a plant, and based on it, the agent will decide the actions. So which control action is given to the this particular plant. Okay. So this environment consists of the variation in, if we are electrical engineering, variation in voltage, variation in current, like that, variation in frequency. So based on that, agent works. So you can see where we study soft computing technique. We know in engineering, in sciences, in agriculture, everywhere we have such application. So it's a interesting and vast topic. So we can apply it anywhere. Like in agriculture, we can use it in sciences, in different areas, even in chemical engineering, we can use it. And in engineering, you already know, in sciences means, say in physics, we can utilize it. And I think engineering and sciences are interrelated things, and agriculture is also, all are interrelated things. So we can say we will study all those soft computing technique or apply those techniques in these areas and so many other areas also, even in psychology, even in EEG or other type of, say in Alzheimer's disease, I saw a person is working on that neural network can be utilized to find the patient, the particular patient, that he has Alzheimer's, depending on the patterns or the input given to the neural network. And doctors can also use the neural network for their diagnosis. So again, that's why it's a very vast area. So why it is important to study soft computing? Because it is based on biologically motivated behavior, right? Then next thing is we have parallel distributed information processing. Means instead of one solution, so many solutions are moving in one direction or in different directions also to get or to achieve the goal. And mysterious power under real world complication. So you know that depending on the algorithm, like in genetic algorithm, survival of the fittest is there. So it's a mysterious power drawn from the nature, Darwinian survival of the fittest. So we will use it for the discontinuous functions. What are the difficulty? You can see, first thing is lack of qualitative analysis sometimes, then non-repeatable outcomes, like the algorithm which are based on random number generations. So each time when you apply or based on the probability theory. So each time when you define you generate a number to find the solution, it will be different. So you will see all the time we will get little bit different answers. So we have to tune it. It is also another exercise for researchers. Then in nature, then these are the different techniques. There are so many other techniques, but let I say for this presentation, these are the techniques, say artificial neural network, genetic algorithm, arm intelligent, fuzzy system. And you know that each method or each technique is a vast technique, because so many of you are working on those areas. So you understand that to understand the neural network, whole semester will be gone. At least 6 months will be gone if you want to work on neural network practically. Similarly for genetic algorithm, and depending on your learning also. So if you want to become expert, you have to study all those areas. If I say evolutionary computation, it is not only genetic algorithm. There are so many other techniques. So that's why it's a vast area. I want to tell you again and again. Now, if we move from the artificial neural network, we can say it has different parts. Like we say keywords, artificial neurons. For learning purpose, it has supervised or unsupervised learning. Then we have different type of neural network also. So radial basis function neural networks are generally used nowadays because of the very fast computation in it. And if you are working on the neural network, you can understand it, why it is very fast. A computation is not done for all layers. That's why it is very fast. So the neural network will be represented like this, where the input neurons are represented by input layer, then hidden neurons represented by this hidden layer, and the output layer. Generally, this is the architecture. So you can see parallelly, I can provide so many input to it, and you will get the answer at the output. So many outputs can be possible. So it is also called multiple input, multiple output system, MIMO system. Again, if you want to work on multi-layer systems where it is also multi-layer, but if you want to use more than one hidden layer, so again, based on that, you will get different answers, and you will get sometimes better answers also. So again, it's again area of research. Now, the difference between the conventional computing and neurocomputing is shown here. Here you can manage the imprecise data also. Okay, that is the very important point here. Also, if you provide so many patterns to the input with respect to the output, and you train the neural network, and your algorithm is good for the training, so you can easily get in the testing time the solution in very less time. So if training takes some time and your weights are optimized, or yes, weights are optimized based on the error criteria. So when you provide the testing input to it, it will give the answer in very less time. So that's why this is the fastness of the neural network, which will be utilized in our electrical engineering, specifically in some application like in load forecasting, or in our case in MPPT algorithms also we can utilize it, but based on the experience that whether we can apply it or not and your area. Okay. Then we have the evolutionary computation, and I told you, I wrote there specifically genetic algorithm. So if you want to work on the different aspect of it, we have different aspect of this one: the genetic programming, evolutionary strategy, differential evolution, cultural algorithm, biography based optimization. So again, based on evolution, it is working on based on evolution. So what is evolutionary computation? You can see it's a subfield. When I say what is fuzzy logic, again, it's a subfield like that. So this is basically an optimization process where we have to improve the objective function, okay, in the dynamically changing and competitive environment. So if you want to write in terms of mathematics, you say we have an objective function. It has certain constraints. Those constraints, so to satisfy those constraints, we have to, with satisfying those constraints, we have to minimize or maximize the objective function. So this process is basically incorporated in our soft computing, and it is called evolutionary computation. Okay. For example, in genetic algorithm, we are saying objective function is there, and we have the chromosomes. So chromosomes are moving from one generation to the other generation, and by applying the different operators, we are trying to improve the fitness of the solution. Okay. So in that manner, we can work on this evolutionary computation also. So I want to tell you one thing. This is a general topic, and the aim to take this lecture is to create interest for audiences and for the other persons who are working on that area. Even the BTech students can take the project in this area nowadays. So as a teacher, our responsibility is to teach them that these are the techniques, okay, work on that one. So that's why it's this lecture is a general lecture, not related to the specific application. right? I want to tell you again and again this thing. So you can see it is evolutionary algorithm implements mechanisms inspired by biological evolution, such as reproduction, mutation, recombination, natural selection, survival of the fittest, like this. Specifically, I wrote it for genetic algorithm. So if I write the evolutionary computation in this format, you can easily say that we have calculus-based technique, guided random search technique, enumerative techniques. Then again, calculus-based, we have direct method, indirect method. Okay. In this guided random search technique, I am specifically interested in that. So we have evolutionary algorithm, simulated annealing, and in evolutionary algorithm, we have evolutionary strategies, genetic algorithm, bacteria foraging algorithm, like that. Okay. It's again another research area, that what is the meaning of enumerative technique, what is dynamic programming. So you all are researchers and my colleagues, and I think you almost all are from teaching background, so they can study it and work on one other techniques. Okay. So when you study the optimization, those things comes into picture, that calculus-based techniques, the direct method, indirect method. Again, I wrote here only Fibonacci and Newton. So if you want to ask me, there are other techniques. Yes, there are other techniques also, right? Here, I want to explain you only genetic algorithm. So it's based on, because I am working on that area. That's why I want to take this particular genetic algorithm. So it is based on the laws of Darwin, that is the survival of the fittest. Okay. So we have to write the component of this particular genetic algorithm as, first we require the chromosome, then we have to initialize the population. Okay. We have to select an objective function. Then in that population, we select who are the parents. Then we apply the crossover between the two parents. Again, I want to tell you, in earlier days, it was written two parents are there. But if you are doing simulation, why not you can take three parents, take three parents at a time, and then apply the mutation or crossover. So it depends on you also, that you can modify the algorithm also if you know the basics of it. So if you are inspired by this, it will be very easy for you. So again, when you, after selecting the parents, you apply the mutation and crossover, and then the new chromosomes comes into picture in new generation. And this chromosome is basically a variable values. When you put it into the objective function, you will get the maximum or minimum values depending on what you want. So from one generation to the other generation, you are moving. But in between, when you apply the crossover and mutation, you have to check whether you're in the next generation, those chromosomes will survive only which are fittest, means which will be utilized for optimization purpose. So again, selection criteria are there. Nowadays, tournament selection is there. In earlier days, we use roulette wheel selection. So let I show you that one one by one. So the important aspects of GA, that is genetic algorithm, are, first is definition of objective function. For example, in a power electronics converter, my aim is to minimize the voltage ripple. So my objective function is voltage ripple. Then second thing is definition and implementation of genetic representation. So to minimize this voltage ripple, what are the factors in this particular converter? So let I say inductor and capacitors are related with that. Okay, switching frequency is constant. So inductor and capacitors are the important parameter. So let I take the variable L and C within some ranges, and I implementation of genetic representation means I create a chromosomes. So that L and C are placed side by side, converted into form of string, and then say I represent the knowledge as a chromosome. Then third thing is definition and implementation of genetic operators. So I told you there are three operators: the mutation, crossover, and selection. So those operators are applied and we will get the new chromosomes. So these new chromosomes are utilized, and we have to find that this will give the better objective function value or not. So based on that selection criteria, we copy the better strings or better chromosomes in the next generation, and from one generation to the next generation, parallelly, I told you parallelly, solutions are moved from one generation to the another generation, and we will get the better solution. So if somebody will ask me that in between, what is the means why better solutions are coming in the next generation, it may be possible the chromosome which has low fitness value are moving from one generation to the other generation. So that's why I told you that operators are there. Those operators ensure that the better chromosome will be copied in the next generation, not the poor chromosome. So that's why it is called survival of the fittest. So whenever genetic algorithm is designed, it is designed for maximization purpose. So in the if you know about the optimization, you already know. If you want to maximize a function, so its dual is minimization. So at some point, at the same point, if function is maximized and I multiply the function by negative sign, so I can minimize it also. So that strategy is used in MATLAB programming in your genetic algorithm toolbox, which is available in MATLAB. But in actual practice, it is designed for maximization. Okay. And you already know maximization or minimization are nothing, but in the manner we represent the objective function. I can also say 1 upon fx, if fx is maximized, so 1 upon fx is minimized. Okay, you can represent it like this. So again, if you say no, if fx is minimized, you cannot represent 1 upon fx as maximized, because when fx equal to 0, 1 upon fx is infinity. So I can say, okay, add, modify, scale down 1 upon 1 plus fx, or provide some other value there, so that ultimately we will get a real value which you can measure it. So in that manner, we can apply the genetic algorithm. These are the broad aspects. Broadly, we can represent it in that manner. And when I say representation, see definition and implementation of genetic representation. So when I say chromosome, you can easily see that the chromosomes are basically in binary coding. Okay, in the binary coding, we represent it as 0101. So L and C, suppose inductor and capacitor is there. So we represent its value in terms of 0101 and place the string side by side. So one chromosome is formed. So in that manner, chromosomes are formed. So I think you understand this point. And the next thing is we have a certain bound on those chromosomes. Means the point is any variable has minimum value and maximum value. So based on it, we can define the minimum and maximum value of the this particular string values. For example, 0 value will be represented by 0000 for 4-bit representation. So its maximum value is 11111. 1111, 4 times 1. So in that manner, you can represent the that particular string values. Okay. I'm talking about this representation. Again, real coded GAs are also there, and there are so many modification in it. My aim is here is to only represent the basic information of this one. Then selection is there. So the selection is based on this roll it wheel. It is moved, and proportionally the area of this particular X1 it will be basically represent that much of percentage of that chromosome, that variable is important for this particular string, and we will find the fitness value. Again, a mathematics is involved in it. Means we divide this particular value by the total value and then multiplied by the total number of chromosomes in one generation. So we will got a real value. So the fraction will be removed after the decimal value will be removed. The real value, the integer value are taken into account. In that manner, we can find the selection. Now, genetic operators, we have another operator, that is the crossover. So you can easily see if we have two parents, parent number 1 and parent number 2, and I see that the information will be changed kindly see the information is exchanged after a crossover point in the right hand side of it. So I can see the right hand side of the information is exchanged. Left hand side information is same. So in that manner, I can change the information of the variables, values, and I say the crossover will work. So it's 1 point crossover, more than one point. If you apply the crossover, it is called 2 point, 3 point, like that. Okay. So the other example is shown here. You can see parent 1 and parent 2 is there. And when we apply the crossover at a particular point, the right hand side of the bits are exchanged in between the two. So next chromosomes will be generated, child 1 and child 2. And the values of this next chromosome is different. So if the objective function is x square plus y square, the value will be coming as for the first, if the first variable x1 is 4-bit, its length is 4-bit, and second variable again has 4-bit length. So we can represent it by, you can easily see the first will be the 12, the second will be the 8. Similarly for parent 2, it is 5 and 6. So when we put this 12 and 8 into x square plus y square, we will get 208. In parent 2, if we put 5 and 6, it is coming at 61. And how I am calculating? 5 5 ja 25, 6 6 ja 36. So 25 plus 36 is equal to 61. So when we apply the crossover at a particular point, the child will provide you 4 and 8 in child 1, and the second will provide 13 and 6. So you can see that in this case, if you apply a crossover, and so earlier the maximum fitness is coming as 208, means objective function value is coming as 208 in the first parent 1 and parent 2 before the crossover. The summation of this fitness is 208 plus 61 is 269, and average fitness means divide by 2. If you divide sum fit by the 2, it is coming as 134.5. So if you see for the second case, it is coming as the highest value is 205, some value is 285, and the average fitness is 142. So you can say, although maximum fitness is not increased, but the average fitness is increased. So if more than 2 parents are there in one population, one generation, where means population size, suppose 4 is there, so you can easily see if maximum fitness is almost same, but average fitness is increasing, it shows the number of chromosomes will give better solutions. Like in our this lecture, if suppose number of students, not student, my colleagues are 100, for example, and you are able to understand what I taught, and okay, one student, and let's say one test will be conducted, and one will get out of 100 marks. But if 80 students will get the marks near to 85, so we can say our class of the colleagues is very, very good. But if say 5 students will get 95 or some marks, but most of the students get marks less than 50. So you can say the average fitness of our class will be very poor. So the aim in the this optimization or in genetic algorithm is to make the gap between this maximum fitness and average fitness very less. This is also the aim of the genetic algorithm. Means parallel searches are there. Each chromosome represents one solution. So parallel searches are there, and we are getting the solution. And at the end, selection operator will ensure that we are getting the better solution. If somebody will ask that what is the quality of this particular genetic algorithm, so this is the quality of genetic algorithm, that at the end this average fitness is increased and it is almost near to the maximum fitness, and we terminate it at the end. So if this particular crossover will not solve the purpose, the another operator is used, that is a mutation. So that mutation operator is increasing the region of interest, that is a search space. So for example, kindly see this one. If earlier value is 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, Now it is coming as 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. So the two values, if in terms of binary will be converted into decimal, the two value will be different. So in that manner, we can apply the mutation and we will get the different solution, and our region of interest will be increased. So the solution will not be saturated. That's why it was written everywhere. Genetic algorithm will give you the optimal solution or global solution. Optimal solution is okay, but it gives the global solution. So there are two points, that is the local optima and the global optima. So the most of the conventional algorithms stuck into the local optima. So this genetic algorithm ensures that we will move to the global optima, right? For example, we have so many peaks in some place and we want to see highest peak. So if we apply the conventional algorithm, so when we move to one peak, we saw there is some other peak which is higher than that peak. So we can say, we cannot move from one point to the other point, because by conventional, say, gradient based algorithm, if we differentiate the function, we say when it is equal to 0, when slope equal to 0, we reach to the maximization or minimization, depending on another differentiation. So conventional algorithm is stuck into that portion. But in case of the genetic algorithm, this crossover and mutation will ensure that we move from this one peak to the other peak, and then selection will ensure that these peaks are different, and we are always assured that these, if maximization is there, the height of the peak will be increased with time. So in that manner we can say, and you can see here we apply the mutation. So when you mutate before and after, we will get the difference. You can see it was written here. It causes movement in the search space, local or global, and it restores lost information to the population. Means during the crossover and during the selection, if some information is lost, that will be restored by this particular mutation operator. Generally, it is not utilized. By the crossover and by the selection operator, we are getting the good results. So conventional algorithm in algorithm format will be implemented by these steps. How to implement the binary coded genetic algorithm, it is written here, and the flow chart of this genetic algorithm is represented here. So you can easily see that we have to generate the population, find the parents, select the parents, apply the crossover mutation, find the values of the variables from the chromosomes, from the children, and then based on the selection criteria, you are moving from one generation to the other generation. And when you stop it, so when evolution is stopped, then you can stop it. So what is the meaning of it? I say when solution is saturated. Then there is, so this is about the genetic algorithm. Again, another area of this particular artificial intelligence or soft computing technique is swarm intelligence. So many persons are, I am not working on all those areas, but I, as in a lecture, I want to tell you those areas are also there. So in swarm intelligence, we are using particle swarm, ant colony, artificial bee, spider monkey based algorithm. So these are basically, again, we can say optimization, and in every technique, iterations are there. So if you know the basics, you can easily apply the those. So bacteria foraging algorithm, it was written here or not? No, it was not written. So we can utilize all those things which are inspired by the nature, and we can apply into the soft computing technique, which is a part of artificial intelligence. So my first topic is in the contents is artificial intelligence, right, and its development. So that's why I'm telling all those things. Also, I think more than 20 minutes are there. So my time is up to how much, madam?
Sir, up to 4:30 you can continue. It's your wish, but we are having a session up to 4:30.
But 2 hour lecture is not possible. So
No, sir, it's not mandatory. It depends upon you, and the schedule is this only. Yeah.
okay, schedule is this one, but I think even in lecture classes, if teachers are there in our this particular short-term course, they agree with me that after 45 minutes lecture or 1 hour lecture, the students are brain dead.
Yes,
so break. I think like that. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's a PPT and online presentation. So you are taking your tea or you are moving here and there, and you do not want to attend the lecture. Also, I also same feeling. So I am expressing not your mind feeling. I am expressing like that. So it may be possible I turn on the, because attendance, by the attendance we will get the certificates. So we turn on our mobile, and then we move to some other room also doing some other work. So that's why I'm telling you that if the participant agrees or colleagues agrees, they understand that 2 hour lecture is not possible. So I will try to extend it till I will feel thirsty or something. Okay.
No issues, sir. No issues, sir.
Okay. So 2 hours generally, kindly make it less than that. So I will try my best. Okay.
Yes, sir. No issues.
Okay. So again, when I say swarm intelligent and I show you the swarm intelligence. So based on that, we can say the this emergent collective intelligence of groups of simple agents. So if we say birds are flocked together, we are say sometimes it is written like that. So based on that, we have the different algorithms, and here you can see like in insect, we can easily see this particular behavior. And these characteristics of swarms are represented by this important parameter, that is the self-organization. Okay. And based on that, they are working on it. So these are the characteristics. Those of many individuals are homogeneous, self-organizations are there, no central control is there. Means even in our organization, one central control is there. One director is there or one VC is there, and then they are saying to the deans, and then deans are saying to the HOD saying are the all faculty members are saying to CRs of the class, like that. So you can see there is no central control. Then perception of environment, that means that by sensing they are doing the work. Here we have a brain and we are doing the things according to us also. We are doing some different thing also during that one. So this is the self-organization and division of labor are the necessary and sufficient properties of swarm intelligence. Okay. So they, in the division of labor, you know that what is the meaning of it. So we have in self-organization, these are the again 4 basic property of it. That is a positive feedback or negative feedback or fluctuations or multiple interaction. Based on this, self-organization relies. Okay. Like in our class also, we can think like that, or in our organization, we can take the feedback also. Instead of writing the feedback, let we circulate the two feedbacks, positive feedback and negative feedback to each student, instead of saying feedback. So they can think about the positive thing about the lecture, and they think about the negative thing of the lecture also. So it will be better for anybody. If you are placing all the things at one place, then it is little bit different. Then multiple interaction between the two colleagues, between the various colleagues, like that. So like that. And then division of labor, you can see there are different tasks are there. So like in our NBA visits, we have different tasks. I am giving the examples because in each organization, if you are in teaching, such type of tasks are there. So like NBA visits, so different tasks are there. So we have to perform simultaneously day and night. Individual person cannot do anything, but if so many persons are working, but doing different tasks, but simultaneously, so we can do the this is called basically division of labor. Okay. So this will basically the parallel processing, and we will get the better results in that case. So after that, the next part is fuzzy system. You already know about fuzzy system. It consists of fuzzification, then inference engine, and then the defuzzification. So we represent it as fuzzy sets, fuzzy logic, rule-based, reasoning, fuzzy inference. Then we have, okay, fuzzy system, we have fuzzy sets and rough sets. And then we can say fuzzy controllers are there. So based on that, we can represent it. And I represent it in other manner also. You can see that it consists of data set. It has linguistic variable like our general language. We have membership function. We have rule base in fuzzy logic, like that. And then defuzzification is there, like center of area and so many other methods. So point is, what is fuzzy logic basically? So fuzzy logic is basically a multi-valued logic that allows intermediate values to be defined. What is intermediate values? Like between 0 and 1. So, or if you like me, or if you not like me, if you dislike me. There are two things, like me or not like me, or dislike me. But in between like and disliking, certain percentage is there. So you like the lecture or dislike the lecture. So you cannot say I like the lecture or dislike the lecture. Some aspects are you like it and some aspect you dislike it. So that is called basically the intermediate values, or you can say in terms of degree of membership. So if we say like, so how much percentage, so how much degree of membership is there? So that type of terms are used in fuzzy logics. And in terms of the linguistic variable, we can define it like that. If all know Hindi, I say अच्छा लग रहा है, बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है. You represent it like it's good, it's excellent, like that. So what is the meaning of good and excellent? You cannot define. The meaning of good is different of one person than the other one. Something is, if I am a very simple person, everything is excellent for me. Okay. But if some person has certain rules or standards that, okay, up to that part, this is good, then that part is excellent. So we can provide a limit of it also. So in actual language, we are using those terms like acha lag raha hai, it's a good, like weather. If you are not from northern India, you are coming from some other country or some other part of our country also. So you can see where weather is very hot, you can say it's too cold. The person who is staying here say it's cold. If some person is from Jammu and Kashmir, he or she will say, okay, it's good weather, like that. So depending on the relativity or degree of your circumstances you are saying, so that part will be captured by the fuzzy logic, that non-linearities are captured by the fuzzy logic, and in terms of the membership, it was mentioned in the fuzzy logic. Again, it's again vast area. It is developed by the Jade, and it is used even in our washing machine. We are using fuzzy logic. So it's not a big deal. In TVs, in LG TV, and everywhere where we can utilize it, fuzzy logic is used. So again, it's a very acceptable soft computing technique or artificial intelligence technique used in day-to-day life also. In your fuzzy logic, you are using washing machine without knowing fuzzy logic. If you are not engineer, even then you are using fuzzy logic. It means it can be used widely for the mass. Okay. So here some points are written. Everything is a matter of degree. Knowledge is interpreted as a collection of elastic fuzzy constraint on a like that. These things are written. So we have to first convert our variable into fuzzy variable. Then fuzzy variable, then we have to apply certain rule base. Based on then certain outputs are there. Because the outputs are also fuzzy values. Suppose your speed is coming and you are saying speed is very high. So in the real world or for the electrical machine, what is the meaning of very high? So you have to place value of the particular very high from some range to some range. And when you want to give a certain controller action or corrective action to the system, then you have to find only one value, not a group of values. In very high, suppose I say speed is from 1500 to 1650 RPM. So very high means 1501 also, 1649 is also. So in fuzzy logic, so many when rules are fired, so all the rules are clubbed based on certain algorithm, and then it was written this process when convert fuzzy variable into real world variable, it is called defuzzification. So then we can utilize this easily. But in between fuzzy world, things are very simple. In MATLAB also a toolbox is there, you can apply, and I will show you one example also. And then we have expert system. So you can, it is used in our earlier or nowadays also it is used in even in grid systems also it is used. So you can say it's an intelligent computer program that uses expertise knowledge and inference schemes for solving problem, thereby emulating the decision making like a human expert. So you can think it is just like your fuzzy logic, okay, but better than that. Practically you are using for the memory. Now after the different soft
Sir has lost his connection. He'll be back in a minute. Participants that will be joining back. I think there is some network issue.
Now, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible now.
I am sorry, but not sorry, but I was disconnected, and
Yes, sir. I just knew.
You can see that how internet is important in our life nowadays.
Yes, sir.
Online teaching is there, or online presentations are there. So that's why my screen is visible now.
Yes, sir.
So I was about to start the application of the this artificial intelligence.
Yes, sir.
Electrical engineering. So now let I share with you this thing. So first thing is, in electrical vehicle, we are using the multi-port converter. So multi-port converter means more than one input port and more than one output ports. Why more than one input port? Because apart from the battery, we can also provide input from some renewable source like fuel cell, or from PV, or from the wind energy also. So more than one input port may be possible, and output port, because we have, suppose, a motor in our system and we have lighting system. So if we want to give the supply to the motor part, different voltage levels are required, and for the lightning part we have different voltage levels. So different voltage levels can be achieved by this particular multi port converters, that is MIMO. It is also called MIMO. And if we have only battery and you have two outputs, it is called single input multi output, CMO. Based on that, you can say different converters may be possible. And let I see, am I connected? I have to check. I'm afraid now that I was disconnected.
Yes, sir, you are
okay. Okay. So you can see that here we utilize for this application of AI into power electronics. I choose this particular converter. So you can easily see it has two inputs. One is fuel cell, the other is battery. And it has 1, 2, 3, 4 switches. And the output, two outputs are there, VO1 and VO2. Just see only this configuration. So here we have two modes of this circuit: the charging mode of this battery, the storage system, and discharging mode of this battery. Okay, depending on the supply and the load requirement, we can say charging of the battery is required or discharging of the battery is required, right? Now, if we see it with interest, we can see there are switches S3, S2, S1, and S4. 4 switches are there. So at a time, 3 switches are operating for different modes, working modes. This is separate aspect of this power electronics, of this working of this converter, but 3 switches are working at the one time. When we want to say discharging of the battery is there, means we want to provide supply to the load only. So we can easily say S2 switch is not conducting, because this by this direction of the diode, you can understand if the output voltage is more, then only we want, means at this particular point, if my arrow is visible to all of you, then we want the more power will be given to the battery. Okay, so that diode will only conduct when its anode is greater, anode voltage is greater than the cathode voltage, or it is forward bias. So when diode is forward bias and switch S2 is on, the direction of current is obviously in the incoming direction of the battery. So battery will be charged. So this S2 will not working during the discharging mode. In charging mode, it is working. So the other, you can understand it, the other switches are working in which manner. Now, various control strategies are used by the various researchers for controlling those switches S1, S2, S3, S4 for charging and discharging application, and getting the different voltage, of course, at the output voltage at different input sources. So based on these switching strategies, we have different controller. PI controller or PID controllers are, most of the persons are working on it. So I want to show you the application of ANN. So how it is applied? First, we have to make this block, obviously the MATLAB model, and then we have to select the 4 input and 3 output. So kindly see here, input and target data set is obtained like this. V in 1, V in 2, VO1 and VO2 are used as input to controller, and D1, D3 and D4 are evaluated as controller output. Basically, I am talking about only discharging mode. So three outputs are there of this controller, and see this one. Kindly see this. So D1, D2, D3 are input of a system, and its output are VO1, VO2, and I can take V in 1 and V in 2 also for this particular work. And depending on my work, I place this as input to the controller, and then I say by the experimental work we generate this data so that the voltage ripple or current ripple will be minimum. Depending on our objective function, we make the data, we create the data, and then we train the neural network. So when we train the neural network, so for a given value of this V in 1, V in 2, VO1 and VO2, neural network will give very fast D1, D3 and D4 results. So these are the values. Obviously, you have to apply the PWM techniques to turn on your switches, but those values, that how much duty cycle is there to minimize the voltage ripple or to minimize the current ripple or any thing which you want, you can do it by experimental work, generate the data, and then train the neural network and find the results very fast. So a closed loop operation will be formed. You can see in the downside here, you can make a block where its inputs are V in VO1, VO2, V in 1, V in 2, and its outputs are D1, D3, and here it is D1, D2, D4. So D1, D3, D4. So in that manner, you can apply the closed loop operation of the particular multi-input, multi-output system. So it will give you very good results if your training is good, okay, as per your objective. Okay. Then application of genetic algorithm. So that was the application of neural network in MIMO. If I want to find application of GA, what I have to do, I have to make it state space model, and then I have to write small signal model and large signal model. From the large signal model, we can find the optimal value of this particular ripple, that is the voltage ripple or the current ripple, based on what is our reference input. Okay, and then we can place D1, D2, D3, D4 as variable, and I can apply the genetic algorithm to find the objective function, that is the voltage error either in delta VO1 or voltage error delta VO2, and we minimize it, and we can apply the genetic algorithm in design also. Here for running condition for a dynamic system, neural network is used, but in offline we can use the genetic algorithm. So what is how to apply the genetic algorithm? So I forgot to prepare PPT for this. If you want to apply the genetic algorithm, you have to, instead of performing the experiment, you can also do like this. The objective function is delta V. The variables are D1, D2, D3, and D4. So for different value of D1, D2, D3, and obviously constraint of D1, D2, D3, D4 also. D2 will be greater than suppose D1, D4 will be greater than D2. The sum of the duty cycles are equal to 1, like that. If you apply those constraints and apply the genetic algorithm, you can find for the minimum value of VO voltage ripple, you will get the different value of the duty cycle. By those duty cycle and the outputs or the ripple, you can train the neural network and you can find the optimal results. So that will be done on simulation point of view. Here we did it using the experimental work. So we can compare it also. We will also do it later on. So this is about experimental work on power electronics. Then GA application in voltage and frequency control of wind energy conversion system. So I took an example of this induction generator. It run by a prime mover. So in the lab, we took a DC motor, and this induction generator is basically self-excited induction generator. And load, we took R or RL load. we did not take the induction motor load because there are some problem related to the induction motor when you loaded the induction generator. And then the reactive power will be provided by the capacitor bank. So we sense the voltage and current, and based on it, we can find the value of the speed, the reference speed, then the capacitance. And by this capacitance, we can control the voltage, and by the speed, we can control the frequency. So by this process, we can by this particular induction generator, we can easily. My screen is hang.
No, sir, you're able to see.
It is visible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because in between, if you say something now, that I understand that I am connected, because in this I'm not able to see whether internet is there or not.
No, sir.
Relied on mobile that if you will call me, that I am disconnected. Okay. So now see that we apply a closed loop scheme again here, that the reference value of the capacitance and the frequency and the voltage will be 1 per unit at the output. So genetic algorithm is used to do that work. And how? It's very easy, that we can make the B and C as variable, and the voltage error and the frequency error as the objective function. So if we minimize the voltage error and the frequency error, we can find the value of specific capacitance and the speed, for which the voltage error or the voltage will be rated 1, or voltage error will be minimum, or current error will, sorry, not current, the frequency error or the frequency will be the rated 1, or error will be 0. So based on that, we can make a closed loop operation of the this induction generator also, where I represent it like this one. So this is about the flow chart of this genetic algorithm. It's a common flow chart. It is not a generalized flow chart. You can utilize this flow chart for any method, any application. It's a general flow chart. Okay. But you have to initialize the control variable of SEIG. Here, the control variables are B and C, that is the speed, per unit speed, and the capacitance. For that purpose. Then the next thing is, we can apply neural network here also. How we apply the neural network? Okay, for a given value, we have two inputs, C and B, and we have the output as V and A. So if we make a controller, neural network based controller, we can provide the input to it as V and A, or the voltage error and the current frequency error, and provide the value of C and B, or B or C. So if we train a neural network where two input and two outputs are there, the inputs are voltage error and the frequency error, and the output are the speed and capacitance, we can apply the same neural network here also. So you can see PPT is not there, but I told you that you can apply the neural network for the constant voltage and constant frequency model of induction generator. Practically, you perform the experiment also, or you train the neural network. The other way, club the neural network and the genetic algorithm and get the better results. So that's why I told you hybrid techniques gives you the better results. Now, and if you club it with some conventional technique, like gradient based methods or direct search based methods, you can also get the best results. Here we are getting the optimal results, you will get the best results. In the other application of ANN is synchronous machine instability using ANN. So you can see, first write the model of synchronous machine, find the eigenvalues, and based on that you can easily see, while output is a value based on the number of positive real part of eigenvalues. So you know, if eigenvalues are positive, the system becomes unstable. So that application can you apply on the finding the instability of the synchronous machine? You can think in other manner also. So determination of magnetization characteristics of induction generator using ANN. Again, perform the experiment, find the input and output, train the neural network, and based on this, you can find the output. So in that manner, you can apply the neural network to the determination of magnetization characteristics. So I want to tell you one more thing. Whenever system is highly nonlinear, then they try to use the neural network. Do not use a neural network when the system is linear one, or you know easily, you can solve it easily. Because for complex system, that gives you the better results. If I am using only for one induction generator, this ANN, it is not good. If I have a various rating neural networks with various magnetization characteristics, if we apply the neural network for that one, and each time it will give correct results, then only I can say my studies are feasible one. So one point I want to also tell you that for research purpose or for publication purpose, you can do anything. But for your ethics purpose, you have to see whether you are doing correct thing or not. You have to see that also. Okay. So when we did PhD, we only do the publication and try to finish our PhD. But after doing the PhD, we actually start doing the research that, okay, we also did wrong in our PhD. So we again start working on that like that. So if you know that there is mistake, try to rectify it later on. Because once you got the degree, you will not apply that, oh, I did wrong. My examiner will not did not ask some questions to me, but those questions are there, or I have to repeat my PhD. Nobody wants like that. Or if in research paper also, if some mistakes are there, either deliberate or not deliberate, if it was published, nobody will say, oh, this is my mistake, I want to withdraw the research paper and doing the good work. So it based on our ethics also. So I am also not perfect. So I want to tell you, but we will try to do like in artificial intelligence, we say we are getting the approximate things. So that's why I'm telling you that don't do what I do. Okay. So now in fuzzy logic, I told you that you have to represent the information in linguistic manner. So it's very easy to represent the information of magnetization characteristics also by creating a rule base. I showed here that if the input is magnetizing reactance and output is the air gap voltage, instead of discretizing it, I fuzzified the values from very, very, very small, very, very small. So these terms are written by me, not by other researcher or by the other experts. So in that manner, I define the range of the variable, one variable or more than one variable. And for this nonlinear system, I apply the fuzzy logic. Again, I want to tell you, for one machine, if you are doing, then it's okay, but it is not good research. Try to apply for more than one machine and get the general result that if the magnetizing reactance is this one and the rating of machine is this one, then the value of air gap voltage is this one. So depending on the various ratings, it may be changed. So these are the rule sets. And in fuzzy logic, this toolbox is also available in the MET. The other application I want to tell you, I am very tired, but I want to tell you another application. You can see condition monitoring of induction motor. So you can see this is the block diagram. You have to measure the voltage and current from some data processing or some measurement unit. You process it and then apply the fuzzy logic based on it. You can say motor is healthy or not. I want to tell you, for example, if three currents are not equal, I say the system is unbalanced, for example. So if I measure three currents and I utilize the fuzzy logic and say based on it, I say some factor is there that is unbalanced factor by some definition. So I can say that much of percentage unbalance is there or system is unhealthy like that you represent it. So it is called health monitoring or condition monitoring of the induction motor, basically health monitoring. So in the lab, you can perform the experiment like this. At different loading condition, you have to run the induction motor using this DC generator, and the voltage and currents, you can measure it using this power analyzer, and you can create the unbalance using variable resistances also. And if you have some variable voltage, variable frequency supply, you can generate, if you have some option, you can generate the variable voltages and getting the unbalance in the induction motor. There is other way, not shown here. If it's a slip ring induction motor, not squirrel cage, so in each phase in the rotor side, if I connect different resistance externally, so I unbalance the rotor, which will unbalance the stator side quantities also. That will also be possible. So here we did unbalance in the stator side, and we find the readings of the different phases. So you see at phase A, phase B, phase C, we did it. And then we find the ranges of the voltage and current in that manner. It depends on expert knowledge, how we write the linguistic variable and the ranges. So we scaled it and write it, and then provide a rule base that if the R phase current is Z, Y phase current is M, say Z is 0, Y is medium, okay, and B is medium, then VR, that is the voltage is low, VY is medium, VB is low, like that. So we can represent it in that manner for different set under loading condition and under no load condition also. In MATLAB, we have a toolbox and we represent the information in this manner. Kindly see. And for different input, different output, we can create our system, and we provide the range also. We can change the shape of the membership function also. We can change the overlapping between the two membership functions also. Then we have rule base. It is not shown here. We can provide rule base also, where AND or operation is also there or not, maybe also there, depending on which rule we want to fire, how many rules we want to fire. So in that manner, if we see in pictorial representation, we can say for IR, IY, IB, we will get three different voltages at the input of this induction machine. So you can easily say your system is balanced or unbalanced. If three voltages are not equal, definitely you are saying the system is unbalanced system. So based on it, some experiment has been done, and under different operating condition, we did work. Then we can find the unbalance also. So unbalance will be calculated like this. Say the rated voltage is 230. So 230 minus VR upon 230 means the rated minus the value we are getting divided by 230. We will say unbalance in line R, Y or B. So we can use some other method also, some other formula also, but for simple understanding to the audiences and the persons who want to work, only for those persons, we can represent our information in that manner. So a layman must understand that what is the thing behind it. After that, if any person like me as a layman, if understand it, then I can do research. So that's why I'm representing the information in that manner also sometimes, because you all are expert, so many are expert in these areas, especially working on fuzzy, neural and genetic. So you can represent the information in that manner, and by doing the experiment in the lab, you can verify it. So fuzzy logic application in your induction motor health monitoring. So one thing I did not wrote here, you can apply the health monitoring of transformer also. How? Because transformer has a test, dissolved gas analysis test is there. That you ethane, methane and different gases are generated. So those percentage of gases will depends on which type of fault is there. So because the percentage of gases will represent the degree of membership and the type of fault is the output. So if you apply the fuzzy logic, you can also monitor the health of a transformer, whether short circuit fault is there or incipient fault is there or any type of fault is there. So some person can work on that direction also by applying in dissolved gas analysis. I also did work earlier on that direction. I collect, because I was not able to do this experiment in the lab. So my student, not me, my student collect the data from various organization, and then we apply the fuzzy logic, and we saw that our results are better as compared to the conventional methods. So that's why, I mean, so many years, I think 10, 11 years back, we did that work. So you can also do some other type of work for power quality or for some other type of thing, apply the fuzzy logic and see it. So in that manner, you can see the application of the artificial intelligence technique or soft computing technique in electrical engineering. Then we, again, a hot topic, smart grid, renewable energy system. So I thought I have to present you something. So you can see what is smart grid or intelligent grid. It is basically advanced electric power system, basically, which integrates those things. Okay, computers, you know, a new thing, IoT, Internet of Things. Okay, communication, because I think in this course, electronics persons are also there, so they understand this thing. So you can see smart grid consists of the interaction of the signals, technologies, and interactions. So it consists of, you can see, power electronics, renewable sensors, then response, communication is required, then electronic load, distribution condition or distribution control, and active distribution network, like that. Okay. So in that particular, again, in smart grid, we have because say renewable energy is generated from wind. So we have to design it, we have to simulate it, and controller will be implemented using your expert system for the smart grid. Similarly, for health monitoring, we can apply health monitoring of wind generating systems. We can do it, or we can apply the fault pattern identification. For example, I told you health monitoring of induction motor. So we can apply these technique. And I took this reference from B.K. Bose paper. I want to tell you, because B.K. Bose is a very known name in power electronics and very renowned researcher in this area. He wrote a paper also some years back. So I took this from some part from it. You can see easily, if you want to apply this particular artificial intelligence or here, or say expert system here, soft computing part of this one. So you can see first you have to design in part 1, then you have to simulate it, part 2, and then you have to apply your expert system, and you create a system controller and find the experimental results. So you can see the first part is here, and then you have, there is no need of it. Then you have the second part, design of the controller, and then okay, advanced link. Okay, third part is this one. So you can use, again, I think it hanged. Okay, so you can see by this you can apply the artificial intelligence technique or expert system into this particular smart grid. I want to tell you a very important thing here, that when you design the part 1, here the configuration design or machine design or converter system design, here you can see written here optimization or controller selection. Here you can apply the optimization technique. Okay, so when you do the controller, because it is a dynamic system, then you can use a neural network. Okay, so or fuzzy logic. So you have to see where we use a different where you use that particular technique. What are the advantages of a particular technique? You must know that thing also. So this is one example. The second example is, you can see health monitoring by ENFIS of a given wind turbine. Okay, it was written in the second application in smart grid, health monitoring of this wind. Okay, so here you can easily see that you have to these are the input and these are the output. So just like unbalanced factor we took in our in your induction motor health monitoring, here you have health index. It is excellent, very good, good, fair, like that. So you sense the various parameters. For example, DC link. So if variation in DC link is there, you can say no, system is not healthy. It is very important part in our this particular system. So you are saying that based on it, you have to provide the health index, and then you provide the diagnostic messages key. It is required, you have to repair this thing, or you have to change the oil, like that. Depending on, you can see so many inputs are there, and you can sense by the sensors and by the fault conditions. That fault condition will be represented by your health index, and messages are sent. So NFIS will be used, ANN can be used, or anything can be used depending on your expertise or your knowledge. Then again, in the smart grid system, we have voltage and current signal, which are the footprints or characteristic nature of various types of faults. Again, the same thing is repeated here. So you can use the neural network also by this particular application in smart grid. So in gist, I can say that in smart grid, because it's a addition of various parts, interaction of various components. So you can apply those techniques for design purpose or for control purpose. This particular techniques, like this soft computing techniques or artificial intelligence technique. So now if I compare various among intelligence system and technique used here, you can see for diagnosis purpose, expert system is used generally. For optimization problem, genetic algorithm is used. For prediction purpose, again, you can use swarm intelligence. But I want to tell you, there are some other techniques also, because in my screen, those techniques will not come. So you can see optimization techniques, jo bhi we discussed, can use. For prediction purpose, you can use neural network. So somebody can ask me, sir, there is support vector machine also. Okay, this is on also including in our artificial intelligence. Okay, apply that support vector machines. So or soft computing technique. So you have to see that various modifications or advancements are there in these techniques day by day, and you have to include those things and then get the answers. So for control application, generally we saw fuzzy logic controllers are there, but we can use hybrid also. Load forecasting, you can see various papers in neural network. So, but we can use other also. So in that manner, you can say that based on the application, write down the application in the left-hand side. On the upper side, you can write different techniques and then check when you do the literature survey, it is this one. So I wrote specifically here at the end, Oxford University Press. So it's a book written by Professor N.P. Padi from IIT Roorkee. And I took some reference from his book also. So this PPT is from his book. And some other PPTs I also took it from some other references. At the starting, I told you. So either I have to write references or because it's a lecture. So I told you, okay, I took various references. So at the end, I wrote here, I want to thank you specifically to the students, audience. So when I say student, I am also a student. Audience means my colleagues, faculty members, then organizers, जो मुझे भी represent कर रहे थे कि और represent कर रहे थे means बता रहे थे मेरे बारे में, and then various references. So various references means by Professor B.K. Bose, by Professor J.C. Bansal, by Professor N.P. Padi, like that. So various references I use. So I want to thank to all of them also. So if some recording is there, that is also required. If it is not mentioned, we have to provide credit. Even I want to give credit to my students also. So they did work apart from me. Some work is done by me in my PhD. Some work is done by my MTech and then PhD student also. So here it is the combination of all persons who are working. Just I am a face of the lecture that I am presenting this one as a one lecture. So I want to tell you that this is about the artificial intelligence and its application, and I am done, and I cannot take the lecture after that. So I am very extremely sorry to the organizer.
Sir, it's not issue. Sir,
because if you give 2 hours, it is, I think, very difficult.
No, sir, we just keep a window for 2 hours, so it's not like that.
One thing is this one. Second thing is, you can think about the our colleagues also.
Yes, sir.
Seriously attending, it's a headache to hear a lecture if it is not interesting and we are not able to understand it, and I have to stay in front of there.
But sir, sir, हमें पता नहीं चला how this time is being spent.
बट आपको नहीं पता चला, लेकिन ऑडियंस में से अगर आप फीडबैक मांगेंगे, तो अगर मैं ऑडियंस होता तो मैं कहता कि मैं थोड़ी देर सो भी गया था, या मुझे उस जगह पे समझ में ही आना नहीं, बट आई हैव सर्टेन प्रॉब्लम.
आपने इतने बेसिक्स अच्छे से समझाया सब, तो ऐसा मुझे नहीं लगता कि
so in that manner we try to any person, any my colleague also tried, you also are taking some lectures in your class as well as taking expert lecture, but you can understand that 2 hours are too much.
Yes sir, yes sir.
So try to give them some break also, that of 5 to 10 minutes, so that the person who are taking the lecture as well as the students, not
yes, sir.
You all are my colleagues, so it's a like a it's torture.
नहीं सर, हम सर ध्यान रखेंगे.
Torture to the students, that we are telling them, okay, you have to be here, then I will give you the certificate. So I am talking from their side also. So now, thank you very much for my very good audience. And if you have any query, because it's a general topic, okay? If
yes, sir.
General topic, so the person who are working on the area, they can discuss with me or they can discuss with themselves also. And it is so nice of you if our organizers will circulate a list of participants with their expertise or their area. So it will be beneficial not for them, for me also in future to connect with them. For example, I know about Professor Anita Khosla or Professor or Dr. आप में से रिचा एंड आई थिंक दोनों है ना.
हाँ जी सर, आशीष मैम.
आप लोगों के एरिया के बारे में मैं जानता हूँ.
हाँ जी सर.
I can understand and you can understand, but the other person who are working, suppose working on particle swarm optimization, and I am not working on it, so I will ask them, I will take guidance from them, or I will invite them for some expert lecture also. In that manner, we can expand our means this research area also. So in this course, there are 2 aims. One is, okay, get some knowledge. The second aim is to get the information of participants who may be the expert in their area. So if we know that, then it would be beneficial for our other courses also. So on this note, thank you very much again. So I think I stop my sharing the screen. So any queries there, you can ask me. Otherwise, I will also leave.
Any queries from the participants?
Yes, sir. Because I understand it's difficult for all of you.
Yes, sir.
Any query from your side? Also, although I am very afraid that somebody will ask the question. I am working in this area from past 20 years, 21 years, but all the time I am afraid that somebody will ask me the question, so I have to give the answer. So it's so, if you have a query, please ask me. Otherwise, I am very happy. I will also leave.
I think no queries from the participants.
It's better you take the test also for.
Yes, sir. We will be taking the test in the end.
And in this lecture, so many techniques are there. You can ask the name of the technique right on a paper.
Yes, sir. We will be taking.
That is very difficult. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. And I think this lecture will be very beneficial for the researchers and the participants who wish to work in the field of AI. And as this lecture gives the zest of all the AI-based technique. So I once again thank you, sir, for sharing your time. And we wish that we will be continuing this bond in the near future also. Thank you very much, sir. Once again, I thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I am leaving. Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
And thank you, organizers also.
Thank you, all the participants. So we will be meeting tomorrow at 9 for day 4. Yeah. One announcement also.
One announcement for the participants. In the tomorrow schedule, there is one revised schedule we have sent in the WhatsApp group. Tomorrow there are 4 sessions. Right, and we will start by 9 o'clock, and the second session will start from 11:15, not from 11:30. And the third session will be from 2 o'clock, and the fourth one will be from 3 to 4:30. Thank you so much. So please join at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Thank you all the participants.